Hi, welcome to the Bipolar Twin Flames podcast. This is podcast number three, and yeah,
Yeah, it's number three.
yeah, we're going to talk generally, hopefully, about self-care. Although we will touch on other subjects, I think. So yeah,
Yeah.
what I've
So
been.
um,
Yeah, go on.
so this is Lynn, and we're podcast number three, and we covered mania and an introduction before. So I think self care kind of fits in the category of depression, and for me, spirituality,
Yeah,
because um, self care is so important in a bipolar person's life, whether or
yeah,
not it's bipolar one or bipolar two.
yeah.
Once you let yourself go, you kind of just feed into the illness and let it take you over.
I think yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, if you neglect or if I neglect myself, if I stop washing, if I stop tidying up, if I stop doing my laundry, then my environment reflects my mindset because suddenly I'm in a place where my room is messy, my flat is messy, and there's nothing to wear, you know, and it
Hmm.
becomes chaotic and that feeds into my mania or my depression. That chaos really brings those things to mind. Whereas if I have the structure of self-care, if I get up in the morning, I have my breakfast, I have a bath, I have I do my laundry, I do my washing up, then there's actually some structure and some and some shape to my life.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I'm
I
interested
happen to
because,
be.
yeah, go on.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're
Well, no,
interested.
I'm just interested because obviously you've been through a period of depression, and
Hmm.
you mentioned to me earlier that one thing you said was you got up and you had a shower and you felt so much better. And to many people who, for example, work every day, getting up and having a shower is a normal, easy thing. But for people who are bipolar, actually, that's really difficult, and that's a big step.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because you kind of just you just kind of want to lay down and like feed
Mm.
into it, just let it consume you, because it's like, you that I'll go through the most common things, and this will probably resonate with a lot of people. You
Yeah.
roll over and it's like, okay, one more hour. Then you roll
Yeah.
over and say, what's the
Yeah.
point? Then you roll over and say, okay, it's too late for me to shower now, so forget about it.
Yeah.
And you kind of just talk your way out of the whole thing. We're very good at talking our way out of the whole thing.
We are, because actually it's that impulse to go into chaos, isn't it? And to go into and that also it's that being in bed, is a really big thing for people. I think both for people who are bipolar and people who have, you know, I won't say just depression, but depression without the mania. Um, you just want to hide. It's like being in the womb in a way, being in bed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know we're gonna touch on this later, but
Yeah.
medication does help that.
Mm,
I mean, I'm
mm,
on a medication right now that's very strong, and it's knocking me out. And I just feel
yeah.
helpless against it. I mean, and it does its job. It keeps the mania away. It keeps all the craziness away. But
Mm.
at what cost? I'm in bed all day. At what cost?
Is that Seroquel?
Yeah.
You see, I've been taking Seroquel recently because obviously, as people who maybe listened to the last podcast know, I was in a manic state, and when I'm in a manic state, the instructions from my psychiatrist are to take Seroquel to calm me down. But as you quite rightly say, I end up being in bed all day,
Yeah.
and as it's lovely. Do you know what? I love being in bed. I
Me
love,
too.
yeah, I love just lying there and being, because you feel safe.
Yeah.
And
Don't have to get up. You don't
but
have to
it's
do anything.
yeah, but it's, you know what, it's too safe, isn't it? That's the thing. It's too safe. It's too much of something.
And then there are people like they'll resonate with this too. They, they get up. This was 12 years of my life. I'll
Mm.
tell you what 12 years of my life was. 12 years of
Yeah.
my life was getting up, going by therapy, and there's a liquor store right near therapy, which doesn't help.
Yeah.
Going
Yeah.
to therapy, going to have some wine, then picking up some Jack Daniels, going home, drinking and going to sleep,
Yeah.
waking up, drinking and going to sleep, waking up, drinking and going to sleep. That was a cycle of probably, I'd say about 80% of bipolar people.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
we just do the cycle of just damaging behavior. And you know what I mean, we're gonna talk about. I think we should dedicate a whole podcast to alcoholism and bad behavior, but that's another time.
Absolutely.
But
I mean, and that's, when you say alcoholism and bad behavior, what I see that as is self-medication.
yes, that's what we're
And
gonna
as you
cover
say,
that.
that's quite rightly a whole other podcast. But I think the point is that when we do that, in terms of self-care, there's bad self-care and there's good self-care. And the bad self-care is drinking the alcohol or taking the drugs or whatever.
And then
And
going right back to sleep.
yeah, but good self-care is actually saying to yourself, and sometimes I lie in bed, and this is something, that I've realized, is that sometimes you just get that little urge to say you could get up now. If you wanted to, you could get up.
But but
It's,
there's the other voice that says no, 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 no.
yeah,
I don't want to get up. There's the other voice. That the other voice is
absolutely.
louder.
Yeah,
The other voice is louder. You'll sit there and say, "Oh, I can get up now," and then there's
yeah,
another voice that says, "No, no, no, no. 5 more
yeah,
minutes or an hour more," and before you know it, it's like nighttime again. For
yeah.
for me, for me, the other voice is louder. The one
Mm.
that says, that feeds into the whole negativity part. It
Yeah,
just kind of they feed off each other. And even though I have that small voice that says, let's get up, I can get up now. The
yeah,
other one is like, no, 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 you can stay there. It's no big deal. You could stay. It's okay. Tomorrow's another day. You could stay.
yeah,
You know.
yeah. And
So
that's, absolutely, because there is that huge impulse. Just, I think when we go out into the world, well, for myself, when I go out into the world, I feel hugely anxious. So to stay in bed is safe. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing in so many ways. But I know that if I do that, I will go down. I will inevitably hit a low. And it's interesting because you say, and we I think we touched on this in the last podcast about anxiety. Not the last, sorry, the first podcast, where we said the difference between bipolar 1 and bipolar 2, a lot of it is anxiety. And actually, it's interesting that you want to stay in bed all the time. And I wonder if that is something to do with anxiety in you.
no, it's not. It's not because
Okay.
when I
Yeah.
when I go out into the world, I'm not anxious. I talk to people. I smile at people. When I
Yeah.
was working at
Yeah.
Sears, I was interacting with all the customers and with a real
Yeah.
happy, smiley face. It's not like I was, upset or I want to stay in bed and not go to work. It's not. It wasn't anything like that. I think
Yeah.
my problem is, and we're gonna talk about the system and we're gonna talk about medication and
Yeah.
everything. My problem is the doctors are so happy that I'm out of trouble, and I'm not making trouble,
Yeah.
that I'm, sedated now.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
controlled now, but the problem is I'm not human anymore. I'm a lab rat.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
sleeping my life away because of this medication.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with me really wanting to stay in bed all the time
And
because I'm not really depressed.
yeah, I can absolutely understand that because, when I take Seroquel, I don't feel like a person either. I'm just a piece of meat.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
how I feel. Yeah,
I'm literally just a collection of skin and veins and bones, and there's
yeah.
no impulse. There's no, there's no sense of wanting anything out of the world.
So, so in a situation like mine,
Mm,
my my kind of checks and balances with self care is
mm,
kind of what you were talking about with structure,
mm.
because I find myself getting up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which is horrible in
Yeah,
itself. But I'm getting up every day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I may be sleeping like 12, 13 hours, but I'm getting up at the same time every day.
mm,
And I think as I try and push
yeah,
forward and try and get up a little earlier every day, maybe that'll work. Because
mm,
I have been on the same amount of Seroquel that I was when I was working, and I managed to get up and go to work. But for
yeah,
some reason, I've kind of just let it go down a sliding scale, which is kind of just feeding into depression as well. It's kind of just all,
yeah.
culminating under one umbrella of me just staying in bed, you
I,
know?
I did a course. It wasn't about bipolar; it was about depression specifically. But they talked about something called sleep hygiene, and they said, you must keep regular hours. Go to bed when the sun goes down, get up when the sun comes up, and that's all very well to say that. But I can get up when the sun comes up, but then in the middle of the afternoon, I crash out into bed.
Yeah,
And
the
actually,
crashing.
there's a tension there. There's a sort of a real pull between what your body wants to do naturally and what your mind and your bipolar makes you do, which is fighting against the natural the natural impulses of your body.
Yeah. And the way to get around that is with self-care. The way
Yeah,
to get around that is with self-care,
yeah,
because if you get up and this in my old house, I was actually near the backyard. So
yeah,
another way to do it is, if you can't get up, you can't just get up out of the bed and open a window and push your head outside. I would open the
yeah.
door to the backyard and just smell outside, and that would instantly wake me up. For some
Absolutely.
for some reason that works.
And the reason,
You know,
the reason is because we, as human beings, we need sunlight. We need the experience of being awake during the day
yeah,
because
yeah,
the sun powers everything.
it does. And I have a very special relationship with the sun.
Well,
And
we've,
then
we've
and
touched on
that
this, haven't you? Your relationship with the weather is something that I think is really important and deep, and also I'm really envious of it. You know, because I think it's a wonderful thing. That you have this hugely impulsive and reactive relationship to the state of the weather. If it's cloudy and the clouds are rushing past, you feel that. You feel the sun on your skin. You feel the wind on your face, and I don't have that. And I wonder if
because
that's maybe a bipolar one, bipolar two difference again.
it may not be. It may just be, we're going to touch on spirituality. It may be a
Yeah,
spiritual
yeah,
thing, because I feel, actually this actually was going on since I was a kid.
yeah,
I feel certain connection to the earth where a lot of we talk about spirituality, but a lot of
mm,
people who the Wiccan, like, religion,
mm,
they kind of believe about the whole earth, but that's going into witchcraft and all that. That's people get all like crazy about. But
yeah,
they believe that the earth is like a living being, which it
mm,
is. And I feel like things of the
Well,
earth,
they
like
call it
the wind,
they call it Gaia, don't they? Um,
yeah, I think they
yeah,
do. I
and
think
it's
they do.
interesting because if you look back at our history, um, do you know Stonehenge?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that is actually, Stonehenge is aligned to the equinox of the sun. It's aligned um, to the point at which the sun is highest in the sky, and that's what it
Hmm.
is. It's effectively a weather machine, and
Very interesting.
that tells us that deep down in our history we have a huge connection to the environment and the weather.
We are
Mm,
we we make our environment the way it is.
yeah, yeah,
When we send out like negative energy, and this goes for people with bipolar, without bipolar, just regular
mm,
people. You send out negative energy into the universe, and this comes with our depression and our
mm,
self-harming and all the stuff we do to ourselves.
yeah,
We kind of, when we push that out and we don't take care of ourselves with self-care, we don't look after ourselves, all
yeah,
of that goes out into the environment. It affects the plants, it affects the trees, it
yeah,
affects all the things that are around us. That's why we have to really, really take a look and take care of ourselves, because each individual soul, each individual person
yeah,
affects the community, affects the surroundings, affects the environment. And for most people think that they don't make a difference, and that they're just a cog in the
mm,
machine, and they think that just I don't really matter. Who cares if I lay in bed all day? I don't make a
yeah.
difference. But every person
And,
makes a
and
difference.
and this is really interesting because I would say in a way I'm not a spiritual person in the sense that I am an atheist. However, I do believe that every interaction we have with another human being creates ripples. It's like the butterfly effect, you know? Every interaction
Hmm.
we have with another human being affects them, and they take a piece of us with them, and we take a piece of them with us.
That's very true.
Mm,
That's another thing.
yeah,
That's what I was saying, is that every
yeah,
person makes a difference. Let's see, if you decide, well, the world doesn't care about me, I'm just no one, and you lay in bed all day. Imagine what would be different, instead of laying in bed all day, getting up and going to the library and maybe making a little kid smile, or maybe
yeah.
meeting someone and saying, "Oh, this is an interesting book. We should read this."
I,
You wouldn't have been able
yeah,
to get out of bed and make that happen.
I've recently started going to this mental health recovery centre, and I've only been there, I think, 3 times now. However, I've every time I've been there, I've spoken to someone and I've said hello to someone. And I've just waved at someone and said hello, and that I think brightens everyone's day. If you say hello to someone and you smile at them, you're giving a piece of yourself to that person.
And that helps you too, because that
Absolutely, yeah.
then you feel like you did something. You feel like you accomplished something, even though it was like
You
really
feel like
small.
you matter as a person, and actually,
That's the whole problem. We don't feel like we matter. A lot of people don't
exactly.
feel like they matter.
And
A lot of
especially
people don't feel like they
especially
matter.
if you're bipolar and you experience depression, you go through long periods of time where you are completely isolated and you feel like you don't matter. And so to go out and just to say hello to someone is a huge thing. And I think that's we come back to self-care here, because self-care actually is about making yourself feel like you matter.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna touch on another thing, which is like, you know, you have to understand that, yeah, my best friend is an atheist and I feel
Mm,
like I'm a Christian, does that
mm,
make him less of a person than I am? It
mm.
doesn't.
Of
Why?
course not.
Why does it do that?
Of course not.
Wha-
Because belief systems are different, absolutely. But ultimately, we're all human.
Yeah, we're all human, and we all feel, and we all have, periods where we're closed off from the world. And I think,
Yeah,
and the hardest thing for a bipolar person to do, and for me, what was hardest thing for me to do was to
mm,
break the cycle. I mean,
yeah,
I had to go into hospital to be hospitalized before I
yeah,
was able to break the cycle. I
yeah,
spent more than a decade just in an endless cycle. I lost all of my 20s. Realize that. I lost the 20s is
yeah,
supposed to be the happiest times of your life. I lost all of my 20s and into my 30s, which was
yeah.
supposed to be the happiest time of my life, to this illness.
Do you know what I'm going to say? Is that actually I hear what you're saying, but you know what? When you hit your forties, that's when you'll fly. The forties are great, really.
I've
You know,
heard I've
I'm
heard people say
46.
that.
I'm 46, and I'm loving it.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's
but
great.
yeah, actually,
I
I feel, and we talked before we started this podcast about me cutting my hair because, and I'll explain to anyone listening, I had long hair for a very long time, and it was a blast to the past. It was a connection to the past where I always wanted to have long hair, and recently, actually, in the last 2 days, I've just cut my hair, and I feel so much better for it, and that to me is also a part of self care because it's
it is.
changing your look and changing, therefore, how you feel about yourself.
Yeah. Changing your look is is really important because
Yeah,
something I used to do. This is
yeah,
part of self care and part of what you're talking about.
yeah,
Ever since I came out of the hospital, I spend an extra half hour getting ready to go outside, whether it be
yeah,
just to go to the pharmacy, whether it be just to go to the grocery store. I do my hair, I do my makeup, I put on my bangles, my
mm,
cross, my
mm,
chains, my earrings, and I have 6 holes in my ear. I put earrings in each of the holes in my
yeah,
ear. I make myself look really nice. I put on perfume. I never for the even when I was going to school at
mm,
NASA, I was going to Nassau Community College, I was going to Hunter Business School. Even when I was going to school, I never wore any makeup. I never did my
yeah,
hair.
yeah,
I never did any sort of self-care before going. It was like just put on any old raggedy thing, put my
yeah,
hair back in a bun in any old raggedy way, put on my glasses, no makeup, no nothing, just go out and be
yeah,
whatever. I don't do that anymore. I take the extra time to make
yeah.
myself look gorgeous. You know, I do
And
that.
you know
And
what?
I never used to
You know what?
care.
Now we both look gorgeous now.
Yeah, yeah.
and
You
and,
looked gorgeous
and
before. You just look a lot younger now.
thank you. Well, look, we're at 24 minutes, so we're
Yeah,
pretty much at the end of this podcast, and it's been really I've really
right.
loved this actually. I think it's been. I
This is
hope
a
people listening, it's been a really interesting one because we touched on self care, but we've looked at spirituality and we've looked at how self care interacts with that. And I think that's really
right.
important because those two things are really linked. So I would just say to people if you're in the situation that you and I have been in, take that extra time to look after yourself.
Yeah. Take the extra, take the extra moment, ladies, to put on lipstick. It'll make a difference. Even though
Yeah,
you say, "Oh, I don't wear lipstick, I don't wear makeup, I don't do any of that." Just
yeah,
put on just little something. Put
yeah.
your hair, put on a nice pair of
And
earrings.
you know what?
Just
Sometimes,
something, anything.
yeah. And sometimes look in the mirror and think to yourself, I'm going to change how I look because that will change how I
Yeah.
feel. Yeah,
If you want to dye your hair, if you want to cut your hair, if you want to, for me, I actually went out and, you know, um, I had for any of the women or the men listening,
Mm.
you have your wardrobe, right? I
Mm.
have a wardrobe of shirts and pants or whatever, but I found ways to dress it up with a nice scarf, with a nice overshawl, with a nice shoe.
Yeah.
I bought like little pieces of clothes to wear. I bought a bunch of jeans because I lost a bunch of weight. I bought
Yeah.
some jeans. I bought some, whatever. So you want to mix and match with whatever you have with a couple new articles of clothing. Just it'll make the world of difference. A couple
Yeah.
of new pieces of shirt, and and you want to be daring. I actually started wearing man shirts, like men's
Yeah.
flannel shirts, with kind of like a
Yeah.
rugged kind of look, and it
Yeah.
looked good with my jeans. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
experiment on different things you want to try. It'll make such a difference. It'll make such a
Yeah.
difference.
It really will.
It'll make
Yeah.
such a difference. Yeah. All right. So this was
So
great.
yeah,
So
we are bipolar twin flames. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope that you'll continue listening to us. And
yeah,
if anyone is
I do.
listening, take care of yourselves and make that change.
Make the change. Make the change.
Okay.
Yes.
See you all soon.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.